I used to love chorus, then I hated it for a bit. Now I really love it again. In this video, I'm looking at a post-punk classic, Swamp Thing by the Chameleons. And I can't really think of a better excuse for breaking out my old 80s Boss CE2 pedal. And if you don't know the song, it goes a bit like this. So the Chameleons, they're a British post-punk band, and this song is taken from their 1986 album Strange Times. And if I'm totally honest, they're not a band that I know that much about, but this band and this song in particular have been hotly requested by viewers of this channel, and since everyone who watches this channel are clearly people of taste and discernment, I thought it'd be worth checking it out, and sure enough, it's a great song. I've learned how to play it, and I'm going to show you how to play it in this video. A quick word on the tuning and the key of this song. I'm playing this in the key of A minor, standard tuning with no capo. On the original recording, the key is B flat minor, and everything is a semitone higher. Now, the reason for this, I'm not absolutely sure. Maybe they recorded it with a capo at the first fret. Maybe all of the strings are tuned higher, a bit like Johnny Marr used to do in the 80s. Or maybe the speed of the recording was messed with in some way. I don't know. If you know the reason for that, please let us know in the comments. But I've decided to do this in standard tuning. I think it's just a bit more straightforward to teach the lesson that way. And it's the way that the Chameleons always played this song live. So if you want to play along with the original recording, you will need to play it a semitone higher. The easiest way to do that is to just put a capo on at the first fret and move everything up one fret. Let's kick off with that great main riff then. It goes like this. I'm going to be teaching you the main guitar parts in this song. On the original recording, the guitars were played by a couple of gentlemen called Reg Smithies and Dave Fielding, though who exactly played what on the record I'm not absolutely sure. I'm going to focus on the most prominent guitar parts, though there is some more kind of atmospheric and experimental stuff going on behind the main guitar parts. So we'll kick off with this main riff. I'm actually going to turn off the effects as I teach this, just so it's a little bit easier to hear what's going on. And this riff is actually quite simple in terms of the notes. We've only got 3 notes here, but what makes it interesting is the rhythm and also the use of effects, how they really contribute to the sound. So we're in the key of A minor here, if you ignore all of that capo semitone up business, and going to kick off with a group of 3 notes. Going to hammer on from 5 to 7 on the D string, and then I'm going to play an open A string. Next group of 3 notes is 5 on the G, 7 on the D and open A. Then we're going to repeat our first 3 notes again, and then we've got the 7th fret on the D and an open A string to finish off. If we put all of that together, we have rhythm here is important. We're counting this 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 and. And we're just repeating that. Usually I think that's repeated 3 times, and then we've got a little variation or a turnaround. That's the bit that goes like this. And it's the same notes but just a little bit different rhythmically. So we've got that 5 to 7 hammer on one more time, open A, then we've got 5 on the G, 7 on the D, open A again, then we've got that 5 to 7 hammer on one more time, open A, 5 on the G, 7 on the D, and one more open A. Incidentally, when you play that 5th fret note on the G string, it sounds like you're just giving it a little bit of a bend. You can just pull that slightly sharp whenever you play that note. That just adds a bit of extra something to the riff. So that little variation then, one more time. More complex rhythmically, a little bit of syncopation going on there. So best thing I think is just to listen to the recording and just try and get the feel of that rather than counting it out, which becomes a little bit complex. But we've got 3, 4. So that's our main riff. It's played lots of times in various different configurations. The bass is kind of moving around underneath that, implying different things harmonically. So best thing to do is just to listen to the recording for the number of repeats and where that little turnaround is thrown in. Our next little riff goes like this. And this is a lovely cascading riff with some open strings in there as well. Again, in note terms it's fairly simple, but I think this one's quite challenging to play smoothly up to speed. Now it's based on repeated groupings of 3 notes, and once again I'm just going to turn off the effects while I demonstrate this. And our first group of 3 notes, we've got 5 on the B, 7 on the G, and then 7 on the D. And we're just descending through those notes from the 2nd string, 3rd and 4th. And we're alternating that with another group of 3 notes, which is this. So here we've got an open B string, 5th fret on the G and 7 on the D. And again just descending through those notes. So we go back and forth between those 2 shapes. And then the last time we just repeat the 2nd grouping of 3. If you want to get this up to speed, you're going to have to be careful with the picking and also with your fretting hand. You'll need to work out a good fingering. And I think it works smoothest and best if you use your 1st finger to play the 5th fret note and then 3 and 4 at the 7th fret for that 1st shape. And then to get the 2nd shape, you're just going to lift up your little finger and move your 1st finger across to the G string. The most efficient way to finger it. The picking is also important here if you want to get it up to speed. A few options here. You could just strict alternate pick it, or I think what I'm doing is going down, up, down, down, up, down. So a few options there, but whichever you decide, I think just make sure you're consistently doing it that way and then gradually build speed whilst maintaining the accuracy and rhythmic smoothness. Next riff is the chorus riff, and that goes like this. Really nice use of open strings in this riff, I think. And the chords we're outlining here are just F, C, and B flat, but we're kind of using power chord shapes, and then we've got an open B and G string thrown into the mix, which gives us some interesting colours. So our first shape is this. This is the 8th fret on the A, 10th fret on the D, and then the open G and B. And we're picking those notes in this pattern. We've got the A string, the G, the D, and then the B, so you've got that kind of staggered picking. And then we're just playing the G string one more time. Toughest thing about this, I think, is the speed of the picking and just being accurate with that. I would pick this down, up, down, up, up. Really good little picking exercise, this riff. Then what happens is we're really just transferring that same idea to a couple of other chord shapes. We're basically moving these two fingers up to the lower strings, if that makes sense. We've now got a C and a G on the low E and the A strings. And we're picking the strings in the same kind of pattern. We're just going low E, D, A, G. We're just doing that once, then we're moving everything down 2 frets to B flat and doing the same thing. Again, just picking that once. So on the F chord, we're repeating that twice, then once on the C, once on the B flat. Repeating that, I think it's repeated 4 times usually, and then at the end of the chorus we've just got a couple of chord hits. A little bit hard to hear exactly what's happening on the recording at this point, but it's basically some kind of F and then G. I'm just playing these 5th string root bar chord shapes, so F at the 8th fret and then up to the 10th fret for G, and sliding off that. The guitar solo then, which is a kind of post-punk guitar solo that's not really a guitar solo at all, it's just a repeated melodic figure, and that goes like this. And then there's a little distorted idea that comes in as well. Yeah, love that 80s guitar sound there. Makes me want to play the theme from Top Gun or something. Maybe I'll do a lesson on that in the future. And that little melodic figure is pretty simple really. It's all based around this little 3-note shape. I suppose it's like an E minor triad shape. We've got the 9th fret on the G, 8 on the B, and 7 on the high E. And we're just leading into that with a note that's at the 7th fret on the G. So we have... So in terms of notes there, we've got D, E, G, E, B, G, E. Got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I would probably pick that down, down, up, down, up, up, down. That little distorted bit, we've got 5 on the D, and then 3 to 5 on the A, then we're playing 1 and 3 on the low E. Just one other bit that's perhaps worth talking about, and there's just one extra riff that you can hear right at the very end of the tune, and that goes like this. And that's what seems to me to be going on the recording. Interestingly, when you look at videos of them playing this song live, they seem to do something similar but different on a different set of strings, and not quite the same melodically, but this is definitely what's going on the recording to my ears. And it's all played on the D and G strings, just a series of double stops. We're starting off with this shape, which is the 10th fret on the D and the 12th fret on the G, and we're just putting the little finger down at the 14th fret on the G, then back to that initial shape, then lifting up the 3rd finger, so we've just got 10 on the D and G, and then going to 12 on the D and the G. That's the first half of the riff. Maintaining mostly a kind of 8th note downstroke rhythm here, but we're emphasizing some of those beats a bit more strongly than others. And then the second half of the riff goes like this. It starts off in the same way with that 10 and 12 shape. I'm just reaching up with your little finger again. Then we're switching to this shape. And we're just descending in thirds. So we've got 12 on the D, 10 on the G, going down to 10 on the D, 9 on the G, and then down to 9 on the D, 7 on the G. And if I put all of that together, we've got 3, 4. I want to finish by talking about the gear, and in particular the effects I'm using to get the guitar sounds in this video. I think the effects are really integral to this particular song. So guitar wise, it's my Fender Jazzmaster going into my Vox AC30, and just the guitar going straight into the amp goes like this. It's a very clean sound. I'm just going into the normal channel of the amp, the top input. Then I'm using quite a few effects. I mean, this was the 80s after all, and I'm going into my pedal board here, and the first effect that we're hitting is my J Rocket Archer pedal, and I've got the gain set fairly low on that pedal, so it's acting more as a kind of clean boost sound, just to kind of add a little bit of extra something. And with that switched in, it sounds like this. So without, and then with. Just a little bit of a volume boost there. It also adds just a bit of weight to the sound, I think. From there, I've got a bit of reverb, and that's coming from Strymon Blue Sky. If I just switch that in. You can hear there that this is it's set on the normal mode and the room setting, so it's giving you a kind of hall reverb sound. And from there I'm going into my chorus pedal, and what I've done here is I've just stuck the chorus and the delay onto the end of the chain on my pedal board. I've not particularly considered the order of the pedals here, it's just what was practical. So I'm going to kick on the CE2, and that now sounds like this. And then finally, and most essentially, we've got some delay. And for that, I'm using my old Line 6 delay modeler, DL4. Originally, I was using my MXR carbon copy, which is the main delay that I use when I play live, but that wasn't really cutting it for this particular song. The delays were just too warm and indistinct. I wanted something that cut through and contributed to the rhythm of the song a little bit more. I've got an old Boss digital delay somewhere, but I couldn't find that, so I got out the old DL4, which is these days a much maligned and faintly unfashionable pedal, but I still think it sounds great, and I still use mine quite a lot. So I've got that set on the digital delay setting, and you want those repeats to be quite prominent, and importantly you also want them to be in time, and it's kind of an 8th note delay, so you've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and you can hear those repeats are in time with the tune. And you can do that by ear, or this particular pedal has got a tap tempo, so if you just stomp on that in 8 notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then you should be able to get that delay in time with the song. So there we have it. Enjoy learning this song, embrace those lovely 80s chorusy vibes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.